All right. Howdy out there to all you Omnibuds and Budettes and any of our viewers out there. Welcome to the Omnibuds Cafe live stream for a Super Sonic discussion. I am DBZ All-Star, known in the Omnibuds Cafe as Steve, the Affirmation Administrator, and I have along with me my partner in crime and fellow Speedster fan.
Yeah, it's Brian, your fellow Flash expert, as well as a Red Kal-El on YouTube as well, and a big Sonic fan as well, and admin administrator.
So those of you out there who watched the Bang the Ballad of the Tiger Kickstarter stream know that Brian, Josh, and I were kind of going off topic, and one of the things we discussed was Sonic the Hedgehog, which Brian and I both have a love and affinity for. So that kind of helped us expand upon what we'd already been discussing amongst ourselves to just talk Sonic. I mean, there are Sonic comics, Sonic games, Sonic TV, so it definitely fits within the realm of geekery and the Omnibuds Cafe, and that's what brought this to life. So if this turns out to be something y'all want more of, then by all means, let us know. Like, comment, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and bell for notifications of future content. The Omnibuds Cafe is also on Instagram, and we try to create a community of collaboration communication without condemnation. Come join the group, join the fun, join the discussion. We just want to know what you like, and for the sake of this stream, please comment on this stream and tell us what you enjoy about Sonic. This is going to be outside of us discussing our first encounters and what we like, a very natural flow, and it may end up being a series of streams, much like Brian's amazing and stellar Flash reading order blossomed into something that could amount to more pieces than the Star Wars Skywalker franchise, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brian, let's have you start off. What was your first encounter with Sonic, and what would you say had you stick with your love of the character and the franchise?
Well, it all started on June 23rd, 1991, with the original game. I mean, I'm sure I didn't play it when it first came out, but funny story, my sister actually got a Genesis for Christmas, and we got it with Sonic 1, and I started playing it throughout that time. And then as a kid, I got into the cartoons, including Saturday AM and Adventures. Also, probably one of the biggest experiences I had was seeing Sonic as a balloon for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade till it popped. And that was kind of traumatizing to see as a kid. But yeah, that's basically where it started. Just playing all the games, all the Genesis games as a kid, and watching the cartoons, and been a fan since. I think you went up mute.
Yeah, was just making sure the link was working in the cafe there for a second. Sorry about that. So my experience was not entirely dissimilar to yours outside of having full access to a Genesis system. I think it's fantastic that you had a Genesis system. My first experience was also through the Genesis, but it was through an end cap interactive display where you could try out different games on the Genesis, and an aisle away you could try out the Nintendo, and across from that you could try out games on the Super Nintendo. This was within the defunct and now thankfully returned Toys R Us, so you got to play for 5 to 10 minute intervals on this Genesis display, and I just kind of fell in love with the concept and the character, so much so that when Christmas time came around, I asked to be able to have something Sonic related. And while some kids growing up in the 80s and 90s, they got a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, or a Sega Genesis, because those of you out there who don't know, it wasn't Xbox and Sony vying for top title. No. In the 90s, it was Nintendo and Sega. I wound up getting what's known as the Sega Game Gear. Picture a black brick, boys and girls. Took, I believe, 8 AA batteries for about 2 to 2.5 hours. 6 AA batteries to 2.5 hours of gameplay. Or you could get a battery pack that split long ways to also charge into the wall while having that pack attached for extended gameplay. The Game Gear came with Sonic and a coupon for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, because there was a Game Gear port, but it's a quite different game compared to the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, it's funny. I had the Game Gear too, and I think my dad must have fought ahead of time, and he heard about the 6 batteries. So like when he got it for me, he also got like the adapter. And most of the time when I played, I would just play in a little corner, sat by myself, plugged it into the wall, and just played for hours.
Obviously, things have changed. We don't really have a dedicated, because the Switch doesn't count, in my opinion. We don't have a dedicated portable handheld system anymore, even though you can take the Switch on the go. It's not really the same as it used to be. The Game Gear, for its time, was state of the art outside of the 6 battery thing, because it was full color for, I would say, 92% of the games. And you got to carry that around and show off to the Game Boy owners that you had a full color system just in the palm of your hands.
Well, that was the thing that was funny too about Sega, was I noticed is that Sega, I feel like, revolutionized a lot of stuff, and they did concepts that are like part of the norm now, except it feels like they did them too early. Like, they did the first colored handheld. They did the first, or one of the first, like, disc-based consoles. They had one of the first consoles that could run on the internet. But, like, it just didn't do that well for them, but everyone else who did it later on succeeded. So, I don't know.
No, they have the saying, a day late and a dollar short. Well, I think that they were multiple days early, and they still wound up dollars short, unfortunately, since we haven't had a fully dedicated brand new Sega console since the Dreamcast, which, as he said, was one of the first consoles out there to revolutionize the market with online gameplay. But it didn't.
One of the first ones to have DLC with Sonic Adventure 2.
But yeah, that oh, we're showing off already. Okay. Sonic 2.
Yeah.
Sonic 1.
Yeah.
I only have 3 games for my my Dreamcast. I bought a Dreamcast back in 2014 specifically so I could start collecting Sonic the Hedgehog games on that system. So I have Crazy Taxi 2, Sonic Adventure, and Sonic Adventure 2, just so I can have that experience of playing on the systems they were originally on. But above me, I also have the director's cut versions for the GameCube.
Well, you want to hear something funny? I also had only 3 Dreamcast games.
Oh, that's awesome.
So right here, this is my entire Dreamcast library. Sonic Shuffle, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure 1.
Oh, that's too cool. Shuffle is one I still need to buy, but you know how it is that you love something and you own it, but you don't always touch it. I had Dreamcast in storage until recently, so I haven't really whipped out the games to play it recently. And I don't want to Crimson Rage is asking questions, but I don't really want to pick up a game and just have it sit long term.
Mm-hmm. What's Mr. Rage's question?
Crimson Rage says Sonic Adventures 1. What did you think of it?
Sonic Adventure 1? That's actually, I would say, my second favorite in the series and my third favorite video game of all time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Sonic Adventure 1, to me, Crimson Rage, and great question, great username, by the way, is a game I didn't get to play at launch. Believe it or not, that was another situation where I didn't own the console and I had to experience it elsewhere. When Kmart was still around, they had a Dreamcast display, so I got to play Sonic Adventure through Kmart. But my first experience with it was through the Archie comic series, because they, at the request of Sega, did their version of an adaptation of that game. I think Sonic Adventure 1 is great. It really revolutionized gameplay. We had technically 3D Sonic games prior to that, but this was the first real, back then, next generation console experience for Sonic the Hedgehog. I still think it stands the test of time.
It does. Like, I get really annoyed, because again, I love Adventure 1 so much. I get annoyed where I constantly hear people say, like, oh, it hasn't aged well, or oh, it's like it's not as good as it once was. I'm like, okay, but like, you say that about Sonic, but you give like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time a pass.
100%.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here. We're jumping ahead in time a little bit, but I think all Sonic the Hedgehog fans can agree that if they were on a desert island with a choice of console, and given the choice between a Dreamcast with Sonic Adventure 1 and an Xbox 360 with Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, they would probably choose Sonic Adventure 1 over Sonic 06.
Oh, yeah. Actually, fun fact about Sonic 06, that was actually the first PS3 game I got.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's the game I got when I bought the PS3.
That was the first Sonic game I purchased for the 360, I believe.
Okay.
Played it once. I think that was enough, because controls are a little wonky for a Sonic game. I know it was rushed, but considering what they were putting out for the Wii at the time, holy moly, night and day.
Yeah.
Crimson Rage says it was good for sure, not an easy game. What's your favorite Sonic game, Crimson Rage? So we've talked about our beginnings. What would you say before we move into our journeys with the franchise? What would you say that, as of today, are some of your favorite elements of Sonic as a character and Sonic as a franchise?
Some of my favorite elements of him are, he's a character I've always looked up to. Like, to me, I always thought he was like, he had this attitude, he was cooler than Mario, but I also like how much he's such a free spirit that to him it's just like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, he doesn't live anywhere. Like, he just continues to run, goes on the road, all this stuff. But as far as some of my favorite elements of the franchise, like, I love a lot of the characters. Like, I love Tails. Tails is my favorite. Best sidekick ever next to Robin. What else? I just like a lot of the stories. And admittedly, I do like some of the memes and some of the fandom. Not all of it, but some of it. And for me, it's just always been like, I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but for me, because I've played them since the beginning, I played almost every game since the beginning, I feel like in a way I've kind of gone on the adventures with him. So like, even like there'll be times where I'm having trouble with a boss and I'll say like, oh, come on, we take it on tougher than this, you know?
So I agree 100%. Sonic was one of those characters that kind of chose his own path, whereas Mario, to this day, is oblivious to the fact that the whole time Peach has actually been in love with Bowser. I mean, they have a kid, Bowser Jr., together.
Yes.
I don't care if you guys think it's canon or not. It's really fishy that she's got all these soldiers and she's got all this money and she just kind of kicks back and relaxes in Bowser's castle. There's something more going on there. Whereas Sonic, compared to Mario, Sonic's not subservient to anyone, but he doesn't have an ego about it. He uses his power to elicit great responsibility and takes care of those who are less capable. Not only that, through his confidence, he garners other allies and relationships. Right off the bat, from Sonic 1, we get to see, thanks to the Sonic Origins collection, how Sonic and Tails first met in the video game canon. How Sonic instilled confidence, and Tails immediately wanted to join him. Shortly after, depending upon the timeline people follow, we get Amy Rose, and Knuckles kind of takes on the role of either Yamcha or Piccolo, where he was an enemy and eventually becomes one of Sonic's strongest allies.
Now, to be fair, though, before a certain other character, Knuckles was the Vegeta. He was not the Piccolo.
100%. Crimson Rage says his favorite game is between Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic Adventures. He hasn't played too many Sonic games. Of the games they've played, Sonic 3D, they did not like. Sonic Adventures 1 was hard, and they're agreeing with our discussion thus far. Yeah, Shadow is an interesting character, especially a character having debuted, a decade after the original game, and 6-7 years after Knuckles debuted as Sonic's arch rival / frenemy.
Yeah.
I like Shadow because it leaves Sonic as not the only male hedgehog, and he's like the early 2000s equivalent of the 90s extreme heroes. I mean, in his solo game, not only is he combating the forces of Gun and kind of working for them, but he's got a gun.
Yes.
Pretty extreme for a furball character, more or less. Howdy, Ryan. Ryan just says he's here for Steve. No, be here for Brian. Be here for Sonic, too. Because
I mean, you can be here for Steve. I'm not offended. It's fine. I'm just glad you're here. That's all that matters to me.
Ryan's a member of our Omnibuds Cafe viewers, and he's also a member of the Near Mint Discord. He's just waiting for Marvel to get off their keisters and release better collected editions. That's one of his missions right now, and he's actually reading certain characters in the Marvel publishing line from the beginning of publication to present day, which is no easy task at all.
That's bad.
So when it comes to Sonic, I just really like the fact that he's his own character, and yet he's not an a-hole. He's willing to use that power.
He can be at times.
But considering, at least within the Archie Comics canon, when the conquering of Mobius started taking place, he was in his younger childhood years. I think the fact that he's got any responsibility and any sense of decorum is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I actually like the Archie Comics version of Dr. Ivo Robotnik, now known formerly as Egghead, a lot more than the games version, because the version in the comic evolved until issue 50 of that series. Whereas,
I was going to say, are you talking pre-Eggman, or?
I'm talking a little bit of both, because they're two separate characters.
Right.
But even the Eggman post-Endgame learned and evolved from past mistakes, whereas the game Sonic, and I know it's just for fun, we're looking at it from a fourth world perspective, same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
Still, between Jack Black and Jim Carrey playing Bowser for Mario and the other playing Robotnik for Sonic, they're both stellar in their performances.
Yeah.
I just feel that Bowser tends to be the more intelligent villain overall when it comes to the video game franchises.
Yeah, I would say that. Actually, can I bring up another thing of why I've always liked Sonic more than Mario? Like, it just kind of popped into me now.
Oh, 100%.
One of the things I've always loved about the games, and specifically why I like them over Mario, and don't get me wrong, I love Mario too. I don't want this to be a whole, like, we're going to shit on Mario thing. But what I've always preferred with Sonic is I like that there was always more of a story. Like, at the end of the day, it's still like, Eggman needs the Emerald, stop him. But there's a little bit more to that. It's not just like, save the princess, you know? It's like you have to go up in space, or oh, this guy Knuckles is being tricked, like you have to show him the right way, or Shadow's whole backstory, which I find cool that like a lot of people are discovering that backstory now because of the third movie.
Yeah, not just that, but the fact that for another compilation collection, it being the Sonic Origins collection, establishes further canon that we were already aware of, thanks to art books, thanks to a certain extent to Sonic the Comic in Europe, but they're newly animated sequences that not only start off the first game, but bridge each of the main games collected in that franchise. It's fantastic to have lore confirmed in such a unique manner, because the animation actually looks like it was done back in the 90s, so it's a seamless fit.
Right. I mean, and honestly, I love the Origins collection. It's basically the way I play the classic style. I mean, my only gripe with it is the Sonic free music, but at the end of the day, it's music that I can just listen to any time, so it doesn't really affect me that much. But
yeah, as much as I love that music in its original form, I'm still happy to go back to the cartridge for the Genesis, because I do have one of those after all these years. Or it's been collected so many different ways. Steam has it available in the collection. It's in the collection that was released for the GameCube, for the Xbox as the Plus version of that same collection, in so many different Sega collections. So these Sonic games have proven themselves to just stand the test of time,
right?
34 years later. And Nintendo, no offense to Nintendo, no offense to Mario, they realize there's a market out there for remasters, for re-releases for Mario, but it's very rare that you'll see them reach into their back catalog and do a full physical release of the games. It wasn't until probably Super Mario Sunshine that the lore really started to matter, that there was a consistent canon. Not there wasn't in the earlier games, but it wasn't spelled out for you.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just all the same stuff over and over again.
Move from castle to castle, stomp on the Goombas, avoid Bullet Bill, and make sure that you save the princess right after she and Bowser have been done getting busy.
Yeah, exactly. You forgot my first step one with that, which is plug in 2 controllers, kill Mario to waste all of his lives, and play for the game as Luigi.
See, I'm totally okay with that, because I'm a big Luigi fan as well. I honestly don't know where the distaste for that character ended up, or rather originated. I don't really care. I think he's just as vital to the missions as Mario is. And I appreciate that even though he wasn't the star of the Super Mario Brothers movie from Universal when it was released 2 years ago, he still had a decent role in it. And when the final battle came about, he wasn't left in the shadows. It's a brilliant point, though, because from his introduction, Sonic's first ally, Tails, was able to contribute, whether you were playing with 2 controllers connected to the Genesis or just one. There it is, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 cartridge from the Genesis.
Yep. My favorite game of all time.
Still holds up.
Yep. Still holds up. But yeah, I always thought that was cool too with the whole thing with Tails, how you could like control him and use him for bosses or whatever. Like that was always so cool with me.
You want me to tell you what I feel though is the worst version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2?
There's a worse version? Go on.
I feel that they took away some of the fun for the Origins collection. I recently did some streaming live on my DBZ All-Star YouTube channel while waiting for people to vote on my next long-form game. I did The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered in chronological mode as a stream, and that took about a month and a half, was 21 different parts. So while I was waiting on people to vote from 5 different games I hadn't played or opened yet, I just slipped in the Origins collection and just had free live stream. No big deal. But when I got from Sonic 1 to Sonic 2, I noticed there was a clear difference in what you were able to accomplish in that game. What's one of the benefits of Sonic the Hedgehog 2? Well, when you collect the emeralds, you're not just getting the great ending. You get all 7 emeralds, you acquire the rings, and you're able to turn into Super Sonic. I've been able to do that in the original Genesis, in the Steam version, in any of the other compilations. But try as I might, after I gathered all 7 emeralds and gathered the necessary rings, he just would not transform into Super Sonic. Just would not do it. And
there's a separate button.
So was I playing it the wrong way the whole time?
In Origins, what they did to fix it is that you played Mania, right?
I did, yes.
Okay, you know how Mania has a separate Supersonic button.
Of course, they did that.
And that's Origin, which I love. So as opposed to just jumping and then you turn into him, now you have the option. That's
shit.
but hey, good for you for actually taking your time to do the emeralds, because 2 is the one game where I always skip the emeralds because 1, I think the bad ending is better anyway, but also like those special stages are just way too hard.
They're a nightmare. On Steam, the collection that you get the Sonic games in, and you can buy them separately for those who prefer certain games, but I wanted the compilation that they had available because you load the game and it puts you in this bedroom from the 90s and you actually see a hand pick up each cartridge to load it into the Genesis and turn it on. In that, with the special stages, you had a replay option, so you could rewind as you were going through the special stages. That way, if you were not great at it, which is perfectly understandable, those stages are a nightmare. You could just learn from it, rewind, and then get the rings. With Sonic Origins, you had to make sure you had coins gathered and go through it that way. And I want to say, Brian, it was the 4th or 5th emerald. I utilized 32 coins to go through that special stage.
Oh, that was basically me with the Sonic CD ones. Doing that.
So moving on to Sonic CD, I first played that because my paternal grandmother was a cool grandma. Yes, Metal Sonic.
Yeah.
She had every single video game console from Pong on up to the Xbox One before she passed in 2014. And she had nearly every... What's that?
I said, I'm sorry, rest in peace.
Yeah, no worries. She was amazing. She had all of the games for nearly every system, too. Thank goodness that she worked for as long as she did and at some point just had expendable income. I don't know how she did it, but I got to play Sonic CD on her Sonic CD system. And to this day, 100% honesty, I have not been able to get the good ending on that, because getting from past to present to future and getting through those special stages with those damn blimps is
I mean, Origins, they fixed it a bit, but it's still hard. What I've always done is I always just go for the robot generator instead.
That's a lot easier.
And it's funny too because CD was the game that I always kind of like eluded me like that because I never had a Sega CD, so that was the one like kind of missing. That was always like, oh, that's the one with Metal Sonic. That's the one that's always been like the one that like I never got to play as a kid. And then later on, when they released the Gems collection, only on GameCube, no joke. One of the first jobs I got, the first thing I did with my first paycheck is I bought a used GameCube and bought the Gems collection. Yeah, there you go. Just to play Sonic CD.
For those of you who haven't seen this before or touched a GameCube, and before I get into that, Crimson Rage, I would love a Game Boy Super Mario Land collection as well. I don't believe those games often stay on the Nintendo online forum. So
how many are there? Weird. Is there like 2 or it's 4?
There's Super Mario Land 2, Super Mario Land 3, which is Wario, and then I believe there's one.
Yeah. Okay.
Then there's Wario Land for the Virtual Boy, which is a completely different story. You literally see nothing but red when playing any of those Virtual Boy games.
I'm dying that they're actually going to release it on Virtual Console, and the fact that they're actually having people rebuy the Virtual Boy, basically.
It's hilarious. We didn't even get half of the games that were released in Japan. I think we in the US got 13 of the games released.
The entire library was 13 games, yep.
I remember that just sitting at Target, and eventually, I don't know if they were allowed to do it, but eventually they just clearanced the systems out because they had to make room for the Sega, whatever Knuckles Chaotix was released on. The one right after. Yes, that's it. They had to make room for that because they were still selling Genesis, they were still selling Game Boy, Super Nintendo, they were selling CD, and they need to make room for the 32X display.
Mm-hmm.
It got clearanced out. But this bad boy, for those who don't know, is the Sonic Gems collection for the GameCube. And not only does it collect Sonic CD, but it collects, and it says this on the back, the cult classic arcade 3D game, Sonic the Fighters. Pictures Fighter with Sonic the Hedgehog. The game is freaking awesome. I got to play that at an arcade amusement park called Castle Park in Riverside, California. That game was beautiful. And then the much maligned release game originally for the Sega Saturn, I first played it on the PC for Windows 97, Sonic R, also known as Sonic Racing 1.
Super Sonic Racing. Oh man, yeah, that's how I was able to experience all of those games too. Actually, it's funny. I remember one of the things I thought was awesome was like playing through that game with Tails, and Tails had this like kick that reminded me of like Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music. So like I was like Tails doing the Sweet Chin. This game is amazing.
That game gets so much hate, and I honestly feel like it doesn't deserve all the hate it gets. Is it easily controlled? Hell no, it's not.
No, it's meant for the arcade. It wasn't meant to be a console game. Like it's meant to be an arcade that you just put in some time. Like
I got to play that on the PC, as I mentioned, and I think that was the first Sonic game that I was able to unlock all of the characters for. It took time because Amy is slow as molasses in her weird little car. She's the only one in a car, unless you count Eggman's bubble car, and she's just slow as molasses. But
you're talking about R, my bad. I've heard you talking about Tigers.
No, but being able to unlock the horrifying Tails doll character was quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, that was something.
I put in the chat for people's enjoyment, Game Grumps, when they're playing a game, especially Sonic games, they'll just randomly stop the game and start singing to start the game back up. They played through, I think, 2 parts of Sonic R, and when Supersonic Racing starts playing, they made up their own little song. Instead of Supersonic Racing, it's called Please Stop Making Love to My Dad. And it's hilarious. But getting back to Sonic R wasn't our first encounter with a 3D Sonic either. We were able to get a 3D Sonic game that was released not only on the Genesis, but it was ported over to the Game Gear as well. Just not a great port for the Game Gear.
We talking about 3D Blast?
Yep.
All right. But we do have to go back because there is one specific Genesis game we haven't talked about yet.
Which is Sonic 3. And Knuckles.
Gonna take you down memory lane in the 90s right here.
Please do. Yes, sir.
There you go. Lock on technology, baby. DLC, the original DLC.
And it works seamlessly, Brian.
Yes.
To transition from the story in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, mainly known as Sonic 3, to Sonic and Knuckles, now known as Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Right. It's like, for me, it's funny too, because one of the things, like, I'm a little weird where I'm nitpicking with certain things. Like, one of the things is I hate when people call Sonic Adventure 2 Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I get that's the version most people grew up with, but to me, it's always just Sonic Adventure 2. When I talk about this game, I talk about Sonic 3. When I say Sonic 3, I mean Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Because it's a full experience.
Yeah.
I love Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but when you have had the opportunity to really play through Sonic and Knuckles, you gain an understanding that it was always intended to be one complete story.
Right. And one of the best stories of the series had basically the plot of the second movie.
100%. With just playing through Sonic the Hedgehog 3, yes, you get to see Knuckles learn the truth about Robotnik, but you don't get a redemptive story arc. That's what Sonic and Knuckles is all about.
Yeah. And
plus,
then post game with
soundtrack is awesome in both games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shaman.
Yeah. Yeah, Shaman. Love him, by the way, too. Like, we can talk about him all day, too. I don't know if you're a wrestling fan, but
I'm all for it. Yeah. So even though he's a controversial figure in recent history, Michael Jackson was a Sonic fan, and he was able to contribute to our community. He provided a lot of the original music for Sonic 3. And to this day, that is my preferred version of the soundtrack. Yes. That's the best pop they've put out of him.
Yeah. I have that one, and I have Billie Jean.
Have you seen that they've done pop albums now for him as well?
Yeah, my friend has those. I wanted to get one of those, but I was like, running out of room here. So,
hey, I get it. The only two pop albums I have are Hybrid Theory and then Reanimation for Linkin Park. Nice. They take up too much room.
Yeah. I do have, hold on, I'll get up again. Sorry, I don't mean to keep getting up in the middle of the live stream.
You're good.
I got one that's kind of similar to an album.
Yay! Sonic the Hedgehog 2 game cover.
Yeah.
And yours is standing up.
Tails, though.
They should have included Tails.
Yeah.
Be proud of the fact that your Sonic is standing up. There were so many that came into GameStop and Sonic is on his head or he's leaning from side to side.
I remember that.
Sonic has a drinking problem with that Funko Pop.
Oh, he did.
But since we're kind of hitting a timeline between Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3, we also encountered several major milestones for Sonic. We had the launch of originally a 4-issue miniseries, starting with issue 0, running through 3, Sonic the Hedgehog from Archie Comics, which sold well enough to spawn an ongoing series that ran from 1993 all the way until, I want to say, 2016. It ended with 296 in the middle of a storyline due to things you can find in other videos on YouTube and in my Floating Island Productions videos. We also had a Family Matters crossover because Jaleel White, Steve Urkel,
okay, I'm like, wait, what? I was aware of this. I'm like, okay, go ahead.
Steve Jaleel White voiced Sonic the Hedgehog in not only Sonic, the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's a Ken Penders cover right there. The Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday morning show, also known affectionately as Sonic Sat AM.
Yep.
One of them being a more comedic take that was taking its inspiration from the games and the first 11-ish issues of the Archie Sonic comics. And that was the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, because you had Sonic and Tails combating not only Dr. Robotnik, but Scratch and Grounder on a regular basis. Yeah. Whereas Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday morning was very, very close to everything post issue 11 of Sonic the Hedgehog's Archie comic series, since you had Sonic, Tails, but other members of the Freedom Fighters like Sally Acorn, who was half squirrel, half chipmunk, Rotor, also known as Boomer, the walrus, Antoine, the coyote, and Bunny Rabbot, who was half roboticized rabbit and half pure rabbit.
Yeah, a.k.a. the best member besides Sonic and Tails.
For those of you who love X-Men, the animated series, who love Rogue, Bunny Rabbot is the Savage Land Rogue of the Sonic the Hedgehog Sat AM series and the Archie comic series.
Yep. Oh, I thought you were about to say they were the same voice actors. Like, I was like, no shit, really?
No, I wish, but they're both Southern Belles, and I gotta tell you, I'm not a furry, but I am not going to shame any furry. So if you grew up in the 90s or later and you had any affection toward Bunny or Sally, hey, no judgment. Some people start their puberty and
think about it, they're kind of the OGs of that whole, I don't want to call it cult, but like, I don't know what's a good word, like
community.
Thank you.
Because I've met some furries in my life. When I was working at a comic store from 2010 to 2014 in York, Pennsylvania, there was a woman working security, and she was a furry, had spent $15,000 on a working furry suit that she had assembled. And it cost that much because the tail would move in sync with her. She could control the eyes and ears depending upon her mood. Those people put a lot of effort into their culture. And
good for them.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge it, because not only are most of them pretty great people, but they have helped boost the Sonic community to new levels in some interesting ways. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And I also feel that their community has done more positive things for the Sonic community than the Rule 34 Sonic community. No offense to that community.
Definitely. Before we move on, though, a little bit in the timeline, though, I do want to just go back a bit, and I just want to give a shout-out to the Game Gear, specifically Sonic Triple Trouble.
Hell yes.
Which I've always said is one of the most underrated Sonic games. So just want to give a shout-out to that game, how good it is, and the soundtrack and all that.
I think that was the fourth main entry in the Game Gear series as well, because we went from Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was completely different from the Genesis version. Then we diverged completely because we had Sonic Chaos, which was the first Game Gear game in which you could switch between Sonic and Tails and utilize the Chaos Emeralds to get a better ending. And then we went to Triple Trouble.
Tails.
And then we went to Triple Trouble, which introduced yet another new character, Knack the Weasel, who became, for the longest time, he became one of the most entertaining characters in the world of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series. I'd love to see him introduced into these live action movies. Honestly.
I'm so glad he's making a comeback, and I love that he's now like the nightmare for children everywhere who cannot beat that final boss, including myself in Sonic Stars.
And Triple Trouble was his main point of access for the longest time in the world of video games.
Yeah, like, because I always thought the story of Triple Trouble was cool to me because it's like, oh, it's free villains. I mean, mind you, it didn't make sense with Knuckles going. Like, I was like, wait, why would Knuckles be with them again? I mean, I'm glad that the 16-bit version kind of retconned that and said, oh, it's actually a robot version of him. Like, okay, whatever. That makes sense now. But even the whole idea of Knack, like, I remember reading the instruction manual saying, like, oh, he's a bounty hunter. I'm like, he's Boba Fett? Like, that's awesome. Like,
see, I'd love to have a conversation with Ken Penders at some point as to what inspiration he drew for Knack, because if he tells me either Deathstroke or Boba Fett, I'm going to hit the floor.
Yeah.
Because Knack just had this natural air of mystery and yet charisma around him, the way that Boba Fett did and the 90s version of Deathstroke the Terminator did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that Penders would take orders from Sega and Archie, but find ways to put his own spin on characters. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Sonic versus Knuckles, the one-shot special, was actually the first debut of Metal Knuckles before Triple Trouble confirmed that it was a robot Knuckles the entire time.
Possibly. My Archie knowledge is a little vague. I mean, I grew up with the Archie stuff, but I don't know it as well. So,
either way, having a robot version of Knuckles makes a lot of sense in that context, because by the end of Sonic and Knuckles, he's a full ally at that point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then we moved into 3D Blast for the Genesis and the less than reliable port for the Game Gear before moving on to...
What about the Saturn?
Yeah. With Knuckles' first major game debuting shortly after for the
I'll give a little shout out to 3D Blast, at least as a cool childhood memory. First game I got all the Chaos Emeralds.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually really like that for the fact that the characters you're saving throughout the game follow you around too, instead of just ending up in a cold, dark trash can that you have to break them out of at the end of the boss stage. The flickies are really cool.
Except for the red one. The red one can go for the red one.
Except for
he hops around. No. All of them are fine except for him.
Not only would he hop around, but he would jump off the cliff if you got hit and he ran away from you.
Yeah, like I remember they all did different stuff. Like I remember the blue one, he was always fire. He always would follow you. Green was just very slow because he was fat. I don't remember what like the purple one did, but the red, no.
And of course they make the fat one the slowest out of all of them because back in the 90s it was acceptable.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But times have changed. Now having a little bit extra makes you thick and makes you popular like you were in ancient Greece or in Japan. So
exactly.
Fuck you, society.
Right.
Fuck you, 90s society, rather. I loved how, as the games continued to be released. Whether it was a mandate from Sega or it was Archie or just Penders paying attention, the Sonic comics would incorporate every new element, not as part of that mandate necessarily, but just so naturally, because we were able to get the members of the Chaotix incorporated into the comics pretty shortly after the game was released for the 32X.
Steven, do you mind if I just make a correction on you real quick? I don't mean to sound
like... Oh, yeah, please do.
Chaotix.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Chaotix.
Chaotix.
I think that those characters could be better utilized, and I think there's a little bit too much hate to this day surrounding Vector the Crocodile for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. Whenever someone creates a Sonic fan animation, Vector is usually at the bottom of the pile.
Huh. Okay. I mean, I will say probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen with Vector was do you ever used to watch the old shorts where it'd be like Sonic Adventure 2 in this amount of minutes or whatever?
I do.
Okay. There was one that they did for one of the Riders games. I think it was Free Riders because it was the one where Vector was on the team with Amy for some reason. and there's at one point where Amy in the video says something about like we can't just do this just for the money, and then you hear Vector go like, "Don't diss the money, bitch."
So for those of you who are unaware of Vector, he is a crocodile Sonic character. The Chaotix introduced Vector the Crocodile, Charmy the Bee, Mighty the Armadillo, which is ironic because one of the ideas early on, yes sir, for Sonic was to make him an armadillo or a porcupine, both of which wound up being characters later on in the Archie comic series and in the video games. And SBO the chameleon was also part of that. Vector is basically stand-in for diversity. He's the African-American character for the Chaotix. And
yeah,
that's why in the 90s, when people were walking around with Walkmans and headphones, Vector did the exact same thing. If they were to increase his design a little bit more, at this point, he'd probably just be carrying a Spotify account on his phone or something.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Vector's always been cool to me. I mean, the only negative thing I can ever say about Vector is his mini game in Sonic Generations. That's it. Outside of that, I've never had a problem with the character.
I guess we did kind of skip over another integral character. Sorry, she always tends to be forgotten or left in the dust. When we were talking about Sonic CD, we talked about Metal Sonic, but we left out a character that gives Sonic the motivation or the exasperation to go after Metal Sonic. Do you remember who that is?
Yes, I do. And her name is Amy Rose.
So how do you feel about Amy Rose as a Sonic fan?
I've always been fine with Amy. I've always liked her. I mean, especially now, like I like that they got her away from the whole like I'm just obsessed with Sonic. But like even back then, like I've always been cool with her. Like it's cool to like have like because for the longest time she was the girl character. So it's like, oh cool, we finally have one of these.
Yeah, Sonic is no longer a sausage fest.
Actually, one thing I like too, I just wanted to point out since we are talking about Amy, is I like that for the Funkos, they always have like these different lines of who's coming out with who, right? So for Metal Sonic here, you look at the back, Amy's the other character part of this line. So the fact that they came out together, I think that's pretty cool.
I still need to pick her up for this line, my most recent Sonic Pops, and I've delved in and out of whether or not I'm going to continue with Pops. I kind of jumped back into it, so my last two were Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles. I'm going to wait until the market dies down on the cost of Metal Sonic 3, because right now, scalpers, they suck.
Yeah. For me, it's like when it comes to Pops, I'm just running out of room, so I've always just stuck with either like Flash or I would just get like, if I just see something I really like, or if someone gifts me one. Like actually, Metal Sonic was a gift from my friend. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Pops may be a lot easier.
Neo Metal Sonic, I got him.
I still need to pick him up. I'm guessing that's what they're classifying as Metal Sonic 2.0, since the new GameStop exclusive is considered 3.0.
Yeah, they call him Neo Metal Sonic.
Looks pretty badass, and I like that to a certain extent these metallic figures do have a metallic look to them instead of the standard plastic look.
Oh, yeah.
And I like the new mold that they used for Amy. Her original mold was okay, but they really went with the cutesy angle, and it seems like with this one, they let her have her own personality beyond, hey, I want to hook up with Sonic.
Yeah. So, I will say this, though. She probably has one of my favorite moments ever in Heroes, where they do have a whole fight with Team Sonic and Team Rose, and she's like, this time there's no way I'm marrying me.
So how do you feel about that ship that Sega has basically placed in our lap? Would you be all right with that, since Sonic 3, at this point, we're 10 months out, guys, from releasing the movie. Spoilers, Amy Rose does make her appearance in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Would you prefer...
Oh, go ahead.
What's that? Would you prefer Sonic with Amy, or would you prefer them go the Archie route and have Sonic end up with Princess Sally?
I'm more of a game guy, so I probably would just say Amy by default, but I'm not exactly... It's not like a ship where I'm like, if this happens, if this must happen, you know? Actually, weirdly enough, as a kid, when I used to read fanfiction, you know what I've always looked up because it was such an odd pairing and there were some good stories? Sonic and Rouge.
That's because Rouge is portrayed to be the skanky one, even though I don't agree with that. I feel like Rouge is the Sonic version of Black Cat or Catwoman.
Yeah, pretty much.
And just because she was made sexy does not mean that she sleeps around. A lot of people pair her with either Knuckles or Shadow, especially with Shadow in the Archie series, because they were agents of Gun for a while on that series.
Well, Knuckles makes sense because Adventure 2 basically was doing that. Adventure 2 kind of started that, and then eventually they were just like, screw it, and it seemed like she just hung out with Shadow more.
I think the weirdest pairing I've seen is it's got to be Sonic and Knuckles. Two dudes can hang out together, and it doesn't have to be a romantic thing.
Oh, no.
Nothing against anyone who has an interest in that fandom, but for the sake of canon, that's not going to happen, especially when Sega often has Knuckles as a loner, or in some cases, people want him with Blaze, which is its own point of interest, because Blaze is basically another Dimensions version of Sonic. Yeah,
that's what I will say. The worst ship I've ever seen, and the fact that my jaw was like this, that there are actually fanfics and stuff that exists with it, are Sonic and Cream. I'm like, she is a child. Stop it.
Cream's like 4 or 5 years old in the first appearance. I think at this point she's 8 or 9, because the characters, after a time, were finally able to start aging. I believe that Sonic 1, 2, and 3 take place over a period of about 6 months to a year within the game canon, but we've come either 5 or 6 years at this point in the overall canon for the series, because they want to keep the characters young enough. And Brian and I, we're comics fans. We're kind of used to sliding timelines at this point. Barry Allen could start off as 26 in the year, let's say 1962, and then even after being gone for 20, almost 30 years.
Right.
He could have 20 years on this planet and he'd still be 30.
Right. Well, that was one of the things I always thought was hilarious when in Flash Rebirth, how all of a sudden like Iris is like basically the same age as Linda. It's like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess spending time in the future will de-age you.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing I want to mention about Amy, about her, which I remember at one point I kind of got pissed at this, was have you watched Sonic X?
I have, and read it.
Okay. All right. Well, the anime, well, there was at one point that kind of pissed me off, is that they do an adaptation of Adventure 2. They do an adaptation of Adventure 1 and Adventure 2. And the moment in the game where Amy is basically she's the one that like talks to Shadow and gets Shadow to be motivated and makes Shadow remember what Maria's actual message was and all that. In that show, they swapped out Amy for the main kid character, Chris, to do that. And that pissed me off. Like, I remember watching it as a kid, like, you took away Amy's moment.
So undeserved, too. Chris isn't a terrible character.
Yeah.
But if you're going to adapt it right in that instance.
Yeah. I'll say this, though. Season 3, Chris, like Medarek Saga Chris, I'm fine with that. The other two, no. And also, Tom's the best human character.
Well, if at any point Tika and help me out here. Tika and Cyclops decide that they're if they decide they don't want to be in the Sonic movies anymore, maybe Chris will be their son that comes in. Or he'll just take the place of those human characters.
I hope not.
That are less and less the focus. Hey, would you rather have that, Brian? Or would you rather have Sonic's love interest from 06?
Yeah, I'd rather have Chris, I guess, at that point. Yeah, you got me on that one. I will say, though, it's like, I do find it funny that some people are kind of like, oh, it's good they're getting less screen time. I'm like, yeah, but they're good characters to themselves. Like, I'm kind of like, I would still want to see them. I don't want the movie to focus on them, but I still want to see them. And also, some people have to understand it's like, they're kind of vital because you need those parts to save for budget. You can't have Sonic on screen the entire movie.
No, do you want ugly Sonic to come back, people?
Yeah.
Do you want him to escape the Chippendale Rescue Rangers live-action universe and come back?
Yeah, like to me, I've always told, because I know a lot of people complained about 2, and we'll get back on track. I'm sorry. Like with 2, a lot of people complain about the whole segment where they get kidnapped by Gunn, and then it becomes the what's her name, her Tika's sister. It becomes like her show for a bit, and I'm like, hey, if we gotta do that to save budget for the finale, where I get to see on-screen Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles destroying robots and fighting like a giant, an actual live-action Death Egg robot, I'll deal with 15 minutes of this.
Fine. Hell yes. Hell yes. Yeah. And not only that, who's to say every adult that is potentially being dragged to the theaters by this wants to just focus on the CGI? Maybe they want some goofy and yet somewhat realistic, the whole CIA gun agent marrying a civilian after being undercover thing's unrealistic, but still, it's more realistic than anthropomorphic alternate dimension animals coming to our world. Just people who enjoy the human characters. They could have gotten worse actors, and they could have gotten people who don't enjoy being in those films. Tika has gone on record, as has Marsden. They enjoy being in these movies, and Marsden apparently asked to be part of the heart of Sonic 3, which is why he wound up in that incident that he did in Sonic. Yeah,
dude,
taken off the table.
Yeah, like, and again, I got emotionally invested too with these characters. Like the point in Sonic 3 where they're have their super fight, and Shadow's like, oh, and what was his name? Tom, and then Sonic just punched him out of the sky, I clapped. Because I was like, fuck you. His name is Tom.
Live and learn, bitch, to the moon with you.
Yeah, which I will say too, I actually I saw a special screening for that, so I got to see it with fans. One of the best experiences I've ever had.
Oh, that's amazing. How many people, when that tempo started to hit and you hear the actual Crush lyrics, how many people went nuts for that?
I'll put it to you this way. People lost their shit at the beginning with the acoustic version.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And also, again, talking about the respect to Baby Rose, big pop. What you got revealed.
Just her standing there with her hammer and being Sonic's age instead of having to artificially be aged up.
Yeah.
That to me is fantastic, and showcasing her ability to just kick ass and take names by taking out all those metal Sonics. Chef's kiss, man.
Yeah, the artificial age. Dude, that is probably one of my favorite Archie moments ever, where I forgot exactly what they were going to do with the emerald or the thing that she used to make the wish. I forgot what it was. But the whole thing with it being like, oh, we could wish like my father, like I think like King Acorn to get better or something, and then they walk in and it's Amy using the one wish to like age herself up, and they're like, shit.
That was exactly it. Acorn was dying at that point, and they were going to use it to heal his crystallization and bring him back to full health, because I think it was called the Zone of Silence instead of the Negative Zone in Sonic. The Zone of Silence had started crystallizing him once he came back into the regular dimension. Yeah. And they needed to have some sort of Deus Ex Machina. Unfortunately, it was Horny that won the day, and Amy Rose used that to increase her age closer to Sonic.
Excuse me, to be fair, Horny, but also it was Sega Dreamcast.
Hey, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because at that point, Sonic wasn't necessarily feeling all the Acorn royal family drama that was going on there.
Yeah. So, can I ask you a question, my friend? Because I've noticed this in our discussion. You seem to be a big fan of Penders, because I notice he gets more of a bad rep with the community.
Yeah, ask away about it. I can talk about whatever when it comes to Ken Penders.
Are you're a big fan of him? That's basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, I am, because growing up, I had to find some way to escape. Both my parents are still together, 45 years this year, but I had the stereotypical 90s kid upbringing. I'll be 40 next year, ladies and gents. Don't let this boyish face fool you.
It's okay. I'm getting up there too. I'm 38, so
I just can't grow facial hair to save my life, and the mustache is how I show I'm an actual factual adult, not a little kid. But Sonic the Hedgehog comics were my first comic book purchase on my own with my own money. Issue 0 in 1992. So every month a new issue would come out, and I'd have to distract myself before and after school. And that was my way, after finishing my homework, of being able to have time to myself. And when I learned about comic stores, I think in 1994, I was able to go into the comic store and connect with the community to develop more social skills. And Ken Penders, from issue 11 on of Sonic until about 144, was the primary writer, with a few issues of exemption there. So he helped craft my childhood. He's one of the few comic book creators out there that I have had multiple conversations with. I want to say my first conversation with him through social media was back in 2018 on Twitter. Someone was talking about IDW relaunching the Sonic comic under Ian Flynn, who was another longtime Sonic writer for Archie. Another great guy. But Ken commenting on it somehow got people pissed off. And without putting any emotion in it. I just kind of tweeted at him and asked him sincerely, what would it take to get your canon back up and running? And instead of getting defensive or seeing it as a shot, which it wasn't intended to be, he just had a clear and open discussion with me. So back and forth over the years, we've had conversations, and I dropped off the IDW series, not because I didn't enjoy it, but because it wasn't the Archie comic canon I'd grown to love over the years. Around issue 18. So having the legal battle put in the past, having him release new content, and then recently being able to reconnect with him through this new material he's put out and making these videos and messaging with him about these videos, that's why I have a clear appreciation of him, not just as a professional, but as a person. And one thing I want to go on record about Penders is, if anyone feels any sort of way about the Archie comics changing, about the license being taken from Archie over to IDW by Sega, that's not Ken's fault. Ken was fighting for pay that was legitimately and legally owed to him, and Pat S. and Scott Shaw, as he always calls himself because he has an exclamation mark at the end of his name every freaking time. He was fighting for money owed for them. And when he went to further legitimize it by copywriting and trademarking the works, Archie fired the first shot and took legal action against him. Yeah. They were under a pretty terrible and abusive regime and CEO, so Ken did nothing wrong, and he just defended himself and the other creators' rights just like anyone else would defend their rights. And it just so happened the judge ruled in Ken's favor, so characters like Jeffrey St. John, Hershey the Cat, Drago, and others had to be pulled out of the Sonic comic and eventually became the stuff of fan memories after the second Mega Man and Sonic crossover, which was epic. That's why I have an affinity for yes, sir. That's why I have an affinity for Ken Penders. His new material, seen in the Larzu Chronicles beginning, it's a transition. I've read this book twice since I unboxed it, and I had to read it twice because when you shift from the original Sonic character artwork into Ken's new work, which looks more alien, and the characters that are animals look more human and something
I saw that. I was like, oh my.
Yeah. When they look like that, as opposed to, where is it? Opposed to this, it's a transition. But Ken asked for feedback on it after I'd read it a second time, and I was sending him the videos. And I told him, I like the original. I can see where you're going with this. I'm excited for more. And I asked him where the designs came in. Ken started out in comics with DC's Who's Who, doing artwork and writing out the histories for that.
Yeah.
Before moving on to another one of my fandoms, just not as high as Sonic or Spider-Man or Flash, he moved on to doing Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation when DC Comics had that license.
Oh, yeah, when Picard was buff.
Yeah, Picard was a badass buff. That series ran, I think, for 81 issues before the license got pulled. But Ken worked on the art and story for some of that stuff, so he actually utilized that as inspiration for the designs. And another franchise that is my all-time favorite science fiction franchise, I didn't discuss this in my video, I'll tell you here. He drew inspiration from Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
My all-time favorite science fiction franchise, hands down. You can have Star Wars, Star Trek, I love those, but Planet of the Apes, the societal message really speaks to me. So knowing that it gives me greater appreciation of what he's doing with the Larasu Chronicles and how to move forward for that, because he really had no choice. Knuckles became Nox, so he wouldn't have to worry about Sega interfering. Larasu changed. Sonic's completely gone. And supposedly with the next volume, we're going to see the event, their version of the Flashpoint, basically, that the in-canon reason for why everything changed. So I'm excited for that.
Okay. That's really cool, man. I didn't know that you like knew him and all that either. Like I was like, because I just noticed when we were talking, I'm like, oh, he seems to really like Penders, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, yeah. So that's really interesting, man. I didn't know all that. That's really cool. Just out of curiosity, though, just one thing, and then we'll move on. How did he get the rights to do the Knuckles Zombie?
Say again? Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Brian will be back. So while we're waiting for Brian to return, I'll show off a little more of my Sonic merchandise in the meantime. Not sure if you can see the shelf behind me, but in addition to the 2 games I pulled down, I do have Sonic Adventure. Oh, there we go. There we go. Brian's back.
Yep.
Back again. Brian's
Sorry
back.
about that. Because I'm doing this on my phone, and I got a phone call, and then it disconnected it, and yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. You were asking about how he was able to utilize Knuckles?
No, like, because I noticed, like, you got that Knuckles Omni. Was that him, or was that, like, a Sega thing?
So, when Ken won this legal battle, he didn't just gain ownership of all of the characters that he had created for Archie. He has full ownership of every single story he produced for Archie Comics.
Okay.
So, this omnibus collects the beginning of Knuckles' story. He first appeared in Sonic the Hedgehog, the ongoing series, issue 11.
Yeah.
And then, 13. He was hinting that he cameoed in 11 because it showed previews for 13, then the full appearances in 13.
Mm-hmm. With the unwelcome mat.
What's that?
With the unwelcome mat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Let's take a dip besides Saturday night.
Well, at that point, the Archie series was starting to bridge the gap between the slapstick, Three Stooges, why-oughta humor into the Saturday AM style of story.
Right.
So everything he's touched, everything the light touches, technically, is his kingdom to do with as he pleases. So I can tell you that the next thing he's putting out is the Scott Shaw Sonic Days hardcover. He's collaborating in full with Scott and with Pat S., who also contributed to the Archie Sonic comics back then, as well as a new colorist who's not necessarily changing the coloring, but restoring it and then updating it so it reads and looks properly on the paper it's being printed on. That comes out in December. We're going to get Larasu Chronicles by Christmas next year, supposedly Volume 2. Alongside this, I'm really excited for the Shadow Files. So from the very beginning of his appearances in the Sonic Archie comics up until the end, supposedly, we're getting everything Shadow in one volume called the Shadow Files.
Nice.
If they sell, Brian, we're going to get everything he can possibly put out. He already has plans for Knuckles Omnibus Volume 2 because this omnibus only collects up through issue 6 of the Knuckles ongoing series. Yeah. But he posted a picture on his social media recently of the first page from the Princess Sally miniseries, which has me excited that could be collected. The Tales miniseries, which was a lot of fun, could be collected.
I love the Tales miniseries.
Dude, to have him set out on his own to create his own love interest and his own arch enemy in his submersible, that is badass. Yeah.
And again, another shout out to Triple Trouble, the Sub Fox.
Yes, exactly. See, that was something that was incorporated because the games were appreciated by those that worked at Archie's Sonic publication. If they couldn't come up with ideas, then they would just share the love of the Sonic games because they were fans themselves and incorporate into the story. If not, then people like Mark Miller, who wrote one of my favorite weird issues, Sonic issue 33, would come and play in that sandbox as well. Or Ken, because he was doing this job really to support his family and to show how much love he had in his kids' interests. His kids loved Sonic as well. That's why we got the Sonic Live special in, I think it was 1996 or 1997 that featured his kids. Ken loved Image Comics, and Todd McFarlane loved Sonic the Hedgehog. So that's why we got the Image crossover special with Hawk and Spawn showing up in a Sonic the Hedgehog comic.
I love that one panel has become like such internet lore that people are like, wait, is this real? Did this actually happen? And it's just that one panel.
It would have been fun to have more of the characters from Image show up in Sonic, but let's face it, Spawn is too mature content to be incorporated into the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog line. It doesn't work. Heck, you couldn't have characters do more than just hold hands for the longest time in the Archie comic series. If you remember issue 50, that eventually had to have one of the super specials released as the director's cut, just so Sonic and Sally could finally kiss each other.
Yep. Yes.
Dr. Robotnik couldn't say damn, which by that point in the 90s, damn wasn't a curse word anymore until around issue, I think, 75 or 80, because that was seen as a Christian curse word.
Oh, the Archie series.
Yeah, there was apparently talk of gun actually being changed for the Archie comic series because the word gun was considered too violent to present to children.
Yeah.
But just to give Ken one last bit of love, those of you watching now or watching later, the biggest difference between, and this isn't a sponsored video, this is Brian and I just kicking ass, taking names, and having a lot of fun.
Shooting the shit.
Yeah, every penny that comes from anything bought on his site, whether it's one of these collections, one of the single issues, it's not like Marvel and DC where they're these big companies and they have the capital to just print endlessly these Omnis or not reprint the Omnis like they should. In the case of Marvel, DCU rock, give us more Williamson Flash and give us more Flash Omnis.
Yeah.
Period.
Everything's on the way. I can confirm from the man himself.
Every penny goes directly into the pockets for producing more books and to properly pay these creators that worked on the books that weren't compensated by Archie. That's why the Larsu Chronicles book is $35.99 and the Knuckles Omnibus is $100. However, the Scott Shaw Sonic Days hardcover is only $50, and it's a little bit thicker than the Larsu Chronicles, I believe. If you want more Archie Sonic collections officially from the creators that worked on them instead of from a company that has kind of lost its way over the years, that's the best route to go, and it is the only route to go. When I talked to Ken last week, he has 14 copies left, give or take, of the Sonic Days variant cover and plenty of the regular cover. He will not be able to reprint the variant cover for the Knuckles Omnibus. So if you want the Knuckles Omnibus, the only choice right now is the standard edition cover with the Sheriff Knuckles hat on it.
Yeah.
If you support that, it sells out. There's demand for it. You may get a reprint of the variant cover. Who knows? But if you want more Sonic content, that's the best route to go for the Archie comic series. Otherwise, if you want more Sonic content from us, again, like, subscribe, post comments, tell us what you want to hear, because Brian and I could probably talk Sonic for days. Chicken for days, Sonic for days.
Sonic for days. Do you want to wrap up here? You want to go on? It's up to you.
Yeah, let's see if people want another episode. That way you and I can both take a breather and eat dinner, and we'll figure out the next stage from there. That way you can save energy for some more Flash reading orders and whatnot.
And plus we can continue the timeline because we didn't get to the 3D stuff yet.
No, not quite yet. So if you want more content, please let us know, whether you're watching now or you're going to watch us later. Brian and I have a lot in common. If you want us to talk Flash for 3 to 12 hours, I am all for that as well. I could talk Flash for ages, because whereas Sonic comics tend to be one of my fortes, Brian and I, through our discussions recently, have found out that there are parts of the Flash that I don't know very well, that through his history with the Flash and his recent, again, they are so stellar, Flash reading order videos, I've learned a lot more than I knew about the history of the Flash.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you being involved in them and watching them.
Hey, it was all you. Thank you for including me in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
But overall, this was fun. Does anyone else does Comment have any more questions, or not Comment? What the hell was it? Rage.
And in the meantime, I'm going to take a minute to post the link to the first Flash reading order video. We have 5 Flash reading order videos that start from where you should start, with some of the best material out there for Mr. Barry.
Yeah.
And all the way up to now the Jeff Johns material is getting prepped.
Yeah, it's getting. I actually was reading some of the first Omni today just to refresh. And it's still so good. I love that run so much.
Also, if you want Sonic and Flash content, just let us know and we'll talk about I still feel it's underrated DC X Sonic the Hedgehog crossover miniseries.
You think it's underrated?
I think that it should have sold even more than it did. I think that getting 3 printings for the first issue was great. I was expecting every single issue would get multiple printings.
I mean, I kind of think that, but I think this is what it was, and this is the way I saw it was, I think this appealed more to Sonic fans than it did DC fans. So I think that's part of it. But as someone like us who love both, it's great, but not everyone's like that. But also I think another thing that might have had to do with it too was, at the end of the day, the story itself is okay. I still think the Sonic Mega Man crossover is better in my opinion, because it's almost kind of like the Avengers 1 effect, that it's once you get beyond the idea of oh, they're here, they're teaming up together, it's just a very run-of-the-mill story.
I will agree with that. I think Ian did the best he could. What really sold me on it is how kinetic the artwork is all throughout the story. And if you didn't read that in single issues, boys, girls, and everything in between, the trade paperback edition, as well as a Books A Million exclusive cover trade paperback edition, and the Target exclusive hardcover will be available for sale next week through cheap graphic novels, through in-stock trades, through our sponsor, Panel Bound Comics, and formerly Organic Price Books. You'll only be able to get the standard cover. But if you are okay with that, then please feel free to use the referral codes that often show up in our videos to get a discount on your purchase through Panel Bound Comics. If you are buying, 5 or more trade paperbacks through through Panel Bound Comics, you can use our other referral code and get a discount off. See, just look at that artwork, everyone.
Yeah. Come on.
The story was never going to be Eisner winning material. It's meant to be fun, but the artwork just sells that. And not just the first printing covers. When they went back to print for the first issue multiple times, each cover mattered. Whether that was IDW's decision, most likely it was DC's decision, because their multiple printing covers have been top-notch these last couple years. They really wanted to sell you just based off of the artwork.
Oh yeah, totally. And all the merch and the figures too. Let's face it, too. That's more part of it too.
Oh, the merch, the figures. I believe that I have seen 14 different T-shirt options for DC X Sonic. Again, exclusive to Target. All of the figures, all the pops, all the T-shirts. So far, they're exclusive to Target.
Yeah.
Again, we are not a sponsored video. We're not trying to promote Target, but when you gotta go.
Target. However, we are trying to promote our stuff, though, which is the Omnibuds Cafe.
Yes, let me get that link right now.
Mm-hmm. And like he was saying before, you can use the code Omnibuds for life for, I think that's the 4 or the 5. You get like the 10% or 5% off or something. And then the Omnibuds for life, that's where you get $2 off.
And when we say for life, we mean for life. You use that code, we own you. No, I'm just kidding. Muggsy owns you, but Muggsy owns all of us.
Yeah.
If you want your own version of Muggsy, use the link I just put in the chat. It's omnibudscafe.printify.me. You can not only get your own mug, but stellar bookmarks designed by founder of the Omnibuds Cafe, Salvatore, and hoodies designed by Kevin, and more incoming. If you would like an Omnibuds Cafe admin calendar of Kyle, our cosplay DJ, then feel free to request. We'll see what we can do.
Oh, yeah. We'll see.
No nudes. This is not Sonic the Hedgehog where everyone walks around naked.
Yeah. And also, I believe there's also going to be a meetup at the Baltimore Comic-Con, I believe.
Yes, this weekend. So I think that technically starts tomorrow. I think there's a VIP showing Thursday nights, but typically the show runs from Friday to Sunday. So if you're in the Baltimore area or can drive close enough to it, feel free to seek out Omnibuds Cafe member Dan Morton and Omnibuds Cafe administrator the DJ cosplay Kyle Huntsberry, and possibly get some free merch, some free hugs, some selfies with Kyle and with Dan.
Yeah.
Feel free to hit them up through the group. Feel free to join the group. Just remember to not be AI and verify that you understand the rules, especially make love, not World of Warcraft, and to support all things The Flash. Sonic, that's one of our newer rules. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I wish. and also real quick plug for the episode reorder for all you Wally fans. He starts at episode 3. just to let you know that.
And why are we promoting episode 4? Because something happens to Barry, and this time it wasn't Mr. It was me, Barry, Reverse Flash, that did it.
Yeah.
But seriously, check out those videos if you're interested in the Flash, because Brian put a lot of heart, soul, and spirit, and you're going to, whether you're a new Flash fan or a longtime fan, probably pick up on something that you didn't before. This man basically is Aquaman. He dives into the deep sea of Flash lore and presents it in such a fun way.
Yeah. I try. I do what I can, and also like upcoming reorgs that'll be coming up as soon as Flash is done, which God only knows at this point when it'll be done. But I do plan on trying to do a Green Lantern run. It won't be as complete, but I'll do what I can. And I also do want to do a reorg for one of my favorite characters, Red Hood.
You heard it here first. Red Hood in the tube at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Which has become even more possible thanks to the DC's Finest line reprinting some of that early material.
Yes.
All right. We'll let all of you go. Anything else you'd like to say to close out? I think we've covered all the plugs. Muggsy won't lock us in the closet again.
Yep. I will say I'm glad you guys came, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it and watch back later on YouTube. Or for people who just see it now, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully we'll see you for part 2 where we'll cover the 3D era. Amen.
So prepare for that. Kick back, relax, grab yourself some extra spicy chili dogs. It was past cool. Hang in with you. Stay healthy, stay safe, and be well.
All right. See you guys.